Houses in Jesus' time were built with a material you would never put on your house floor. The internal organization worked with only 4 types of furniture for the entire family. And the difference between a rich house and a poor one could mean the difference between waking up alive or dead the next morning. For 2,000 years, we've imagined Jesus entering homes that looked like primitive versions of our houses. But when you discover what materials these houses were really built with, how families organized their belongings without closets or separate rooms, what household utensils they used for cooking, eating, and sleeping, and why a small difference in construction quality determined who would survive the cold desert nights. You'll understand that domestic life 2,029 years ago worked in such a different and intelligent way that even the simplest details of the Gospels take on a completely new meaning. Get ready to literally step inside these houses and discover what daily life was like for the families Jesus knew. Joseph got up early and stepped barefoot on the same floor where he slept, the same floor where he ate, the same floor where he worked as a carpenter. It was made of packed earth mixed with lime and straw. When it dried, it became smooth and resistant like concrete. It lasted decades without cracking or wearing out. This floor in the Nazareth house was divided into 2 levels. The lower part, about half a meter below the entrance, housed the family's animals. A goat, maybe some sheep. Jesus grew up hearing these animals ruminating under his feet every night. The heat rising from their bodies warmed the family during winter. The higher part of the floor was where the family lived. There they ate, slept, worked, received visitors. There were no partitions. The entire house was practically one room. During the day, Joseph spread his carpentry tools on the floor. Saws, chisels, squares. He worked sitting cross-legged, shaping wood for doors, windows, plows. Mary prepared meals in a specific corner of the floor, where stones were arranged in a circle to make fire. She ground grains on a concave stone, kneaded bread, cooked stews in clay pots. At night, the whole family unrolled woven straw mats and slept side by side on this same floor. 1 mat per person. No beds, mattresses, or pillows as we know them. The mats were the most versatile furniture in the house. In the morning, they served as beds. During the day, they became tables for meals. In the afternoon, work areas for sewing or weaving. When a mat wore out, it was mended thread by thread. When it got too old, it became a doormat to clean feet at the entrance. Jesus learned from childhood to use each object for multiple functions. Nothing was wasted. Everything had purpose. This extreme simplicity wasn't poverty. It was practical wisdom. Families could reorganize the entire house in minutes, depending on the moment's needs. Visitors arrived. They unrolled more mats, needed workspace. They gathered everything to the corners. Wanted to celebrate a party? The floor became a dance hall. Today we take hours to rearrange a room. They did it in seconds. The floor also served as storage. Large ceramic jars were semi-buried, storing grains, oil, water, wine. It was like having an underground pantry. These jars could bear the weight of people walking on top. They were so well sealed they kept food fresh for months, without refrigeration. Floor cleaning was done daily by women, using brooms made of tied dry branches. Not to remove dust. Dust barely existed in Palestine's dry climate. It was to keep the surface smooth and free of debris that could attract insects or cause injuries to bare feet. This simple floor, made of earth and lime, was where Jesus took his first steps, where he learned carpentry by watching Joseph, where he heard Mary tell stories from Scripture. But the walls of these houses held even more fascinating secrets about how these families managed to live with so little. In a half-meter thick wall, all the belongings of an entire family fit. The walls of Palestinian houses weren't just support structures. They were ingenious storage systems built with niches and cavities planned from the start of construction. During construction, masons already left strategic holes in the wall. Small openings at different heights, each with a specific purpose. The highest niches stored valuable objects: coins, simple jewelry, parchment scrolls with sacred texts. They stayed away from children's and thieves' reach. The middle niches stored daily utensils: oil lamps, ceramic bowls, knives, wooden spoons. The lowest niches held heavy tools and large objects: hammers, hoes, extra jars, straw baskets. It was like having a shelf system built into the house structure itself, without taking up floor space, without spending money on furniture. The walls also had stone hooks carved directly into the surface. There they hung clothes, ropes, fishing nets, musical instruments. Everything had its specific place. Each object always stayed in the same niche, so any family member could find it even in the dark. These thick walls fulfilled multiple functions simultaneously. They supported the roof, thermally insulated the house, served as storage, and still functioned as a natural cooling system. During the day, the stones absorbed heat from the sun. At night, they gradually released this heat, keeping the internal temperature stable. In summer, the process reversed. The thick walls prevented external heat from quickly penetrating, keeping the interior cool during the hottest hours. To build such a wall required experienced masons. Each niche needed correct positioning to not compromise structural resistance. Poorer families improvised. They made thinner walls and opened niches later, risking weakening the construction. Rich families hired the best craftsmen, who created decorated niches with rounded edges and refined finishing. Inside these niches, small details revealed much about each family. Religious families kept Torah scrolls in special niches, protected by fine fabrics. Merchant families had niches full of scales, weights, coins from different regions. Artisan families organized specialized tools in thematic niches, one for carpentry instruments, another for weaving utensils. Jesus grew up knowing this system intimately. He knew exactly where each of Joseph's tools was stored. He learned early to value organization and functionality. This experience of living with multifunctional walls influenced many of his later parables. When he spoke about building houses on rock, about treasures stored in safe places, he was using references everyone understood perfectly. But above these intelligent walls, there was an even more revolutionary architectural solution to multiply the house's living space. Peter woke up on the roof of the house where he was staying and had the vision that would change Christianity forever. It wasn't coincidence. Roofs were the quietest, most private and elevated places in Palestinian houses, perfect for prayer, meditation, and intimate moments with God. Unlike our triangular roofs, roofs in Jesus' time were completely flat. They functioned as an extra floor of the house, used intensively by the family. The construction was ingenious. Thick wooden beams extended from one wall to another. Over these beams, smaller branches were interwoven, forming a resistant weave. On top, layers of straw, leaves, and finally, a thick layer of clay mixed with lime. When this clay dried in the sun, it created a waterproof and resistant surface. It could bear the weight of several people walking, running, even dancing. During summer, entire families went up to sleep on the roof. It was cooler than inside the house, it had constant breeze, and offered privileged view of the stars. Imagine the logistics. Every afternoon, mattresses, blankets, pillows were carried upstairs. In the morning, everything brought down again. The stairs were on the outside of the house, attached to the wall. Narrow, steep, without handrails. Children learned early to go up and down with cat-like agility. During the day, roofs served as work areas. Women went up to hang clothes on the line, weave rugs, sew clothes. Men used the space for activities that needed intense lighting, repairing tools, working with leather, carving wood. It was common to see entire families on the roof during afternoons, each in a different activity, but all together. Roofs also functioned as seasonal storage. During harvest, grains were spread on mats to dry in the sun. Dates, grapes, figs, everything dried on the roof. At night, this space became a social center. Neighbors visited each other, jumping from roof to roof without needing to go down to the street. It was an aerial network connecting the neighborhood houses. During religious festivals, roofs transformed into celebration venues. Families gathered there to sing, tell stories, teach traditions to children. The view from the roof also served for surveillance. Adults kept an eye on children playing in the street, observed suspicious movements, followed caravans arriving or departing. In Mark 2, when 4 men couldn't enter the house where Jesus was preaching, they went up on the roof and opened a hole to lower the paralytic. This was possible because these clay roofs could be easily removed and rebuilt. You just had to remove some layers of dry clay, separate the branches, and create a temporary opening. Then just put the material back in place, throw fresh clay on top, and in a few days, the roof was like new. This architectural flexibility allowed constant adaptations as family needs changed. Jesus certainly spent much time on the roof of the Nazareth house. There he had privacy to pray, meditate on his mission, observe people's lives in the city. As an adult, he used roofs as natural pulpits to preach to crowds gathered in the streets. But inside these ingenious houses, what impresses most is how families managed to live comfortably with almost no furniture. Mary had 7 children and owned only 4 pieces of furniture in her house. Even so, she managed to perfectly organize domestic life, meals, work, and rest for the entire family. The first objects were woven straw mats. Each family member had their own, made to measure. Small children had smaller mats, easier to carry and wash. In the morning, these mats stayed rolled in a corner. At night, they were unrolled side by side on the floor, becoming beds for the whole family. At mealtime, mats were arranged in a circle, functioning as a communal table where everyone sat around the food. During the day, they served as individual work areas. Each person unrolled their mat wherever they wanted to work. Weave, sew, study, play. The second objects were large ceramic jars. A typical family had between 5 and 8 jars, each specialized in one type of food. One jar for wheat, another for barley, another for lentils, another for oil, another for wine, another for clean water. These jars were semi-buried in the floor, covered with heavy stone lids. They kept food fresh and protected from insects for months. The third object was the oil lamp. Small, made of ceramic, it burned olive oil throughout the night. They never left the house completely dark. There was always a flame burning, a matter of safety and practicality.